Auchenstone. Half a moon and a midnight mist whiten the walls of the cottage. The tall ash tree is still. A dream ago, witches were cursed, gages given, priests killed, bad bargains driven. But now this night lies like loam about the coffined past. I stand here under the hill on the very edge of the real world. Wraiths rise outside the gloom and finger our fate without spite, coldly. There is no wind, no sound. The nether rock is held by the weightless gravity of silence, and from the tunnel of the air no star shines. This is the grey, crystal arc of the present. The house, the tree, the grass tremble only in the moonlight of my mind.
Michael Crump moved from England to the southwest of Scotland about 15 years ago. He bought a small holding near Money Ive, which he developed as an organic farm.
Can you tell us about why you started to write and what brought you to this part of Scotland?
Well, I suppose it's in the poem Auchenstone, really, because it's a sort of astonishment at finding myself in this place, or it was then. An astonishment that I should even be here where I don't belong, where I suddenly find myself looking around and seeing things that other people have seen for centuries, maybe, and I've not realised before. That's all it is, a kind of extraordinary astonishment that everything should come together to find me in this place at this moment. Especially when there's anything like the strange emotional feeling of late evening. That's the kind of thing that started me off writing, really. Heron. Age is clothed in stick-thin rigging of bones, and grey, dusty feathers, carried down by great wings that flap along channels of air. Bird of time, you stand at the edge of the stream in a brittle, lapping dream, marking the running of days and years through the slithery fishways between old known pebbles and brown stones. You wait till I see you from my different world, joining your different worlds of sky and soil with the pivots of crane legs, charting them by secret signs, invisible as the sea, and then rise, slowly, and slowly swim into your air again, and leave my island presence without fear or hate, but with a lofty, maritime disdain. Hen. It was worst at first. Before I picked up from the end of the bar where she cowered, breathing noisily, still pinning me, the feed bins, spare stobs and stalls down with the dart of her eye, the hen who was too old to be left to die. I didn't mind later. The nipping of feathers, slitting of bone, thin red blood dripping on stone, cut of my knife against stretched skin, grasping for innards, the suck as my hand came out of the cave of ribs. No, it was waiting, planning her plumpness into my hands, breaking before I touched it her bendable neck, sensing her lonely speculation and knowing that I was the end of it. My skill, or lack of it, only would handle this kill.
pen, the poem that you just read us, on the page has a very obvious form. Did you decide on the form and then write the poem, or did you have the idea and then did the form come later?
Well, it's to do with what I think poetry is really, which is, in a way, talking to people. And deliberately, the first bits of each of the stanzas are talking to people without any kind of poetic skill. Just, it was worst at first. I didn't mind later. No, it was waiting, as if I was just saying those things. But then, after that, I've tried to use words that fit what I'm trying to say much more. The sounds of the words, I mean. Yeah. So that, for example, in the first verse, there are an awful lot of short vowels, I and ah, and lots of rhymes like that, pinning and bins and so on. And the same thing in the second stanza, nipping and slitting and thin and dripping and innards and so on, skin. All those words are meant to rhyme with each other so that you get this sharp, sharp feeling, because of course the whole thing is a sharp feeling. When you kill some creature like that, the whole atmosphere is of sharpness and cutting. But then the last verse, it has got slightly different sounds in it, like plumpness, lazier sounds, because I'm trying to get over there the idea of the waiting before you actually do anything to it, the creature. And that, of course, was what was upsetting me, that I had to do it for the first time. None of them are really meant to look anything on the page. They were all meant to be said or read. And I would hope that when anybody read them, they would be thinking of what they sound like much more than what they look like. Yes. The reason for setting them out like that is so that if they are read by anybody, aloud or silently, then they have to make sure that they read those lines short. They have to stop at the end of each line. Yes. That's why I've got it like that. Looking the sheep. Early this morning when I looked the sheep, their fleeces were frosted and they lay hard against the dike. They moved slowly away, stiffened by last night's snows, anxious as ever to be left in peace. I saw the brae beyond for the last time. Before this evening it will be ploughed. Not ploughed to be harrowed and sown, so that grass will grow in the spring, but in deep furrows for draining the trees. Here will be not just surface scratches, but ripped scars, raw lines raked on the breasts of hills. Rocks will be budged and laid uneasy on the edges of channels, so that earth and eyesight will be awry. What's done today will last 100 years. The shepherds say, it's a shame so it is. I'm glad Jim is not here. He wouldn't sleep at night if he saw this done. It was he who fought this field with an old scrap tractor that was always needing sorted. With a small plough and stronger will, he tilled a place for beasts and sheep to graze. Anyone spoke of Jim, they said he had ploughed his hill. It was a feat worth high praise, for the slope was harsh and the bracken rife. The gamble needed faith and fences and grim labour week by week. Now 2 men with bigger machines crawl in a rush to ravage the soil. Start up with a belch to ride stubborn dikes and snow and stones, burn black ridges straight down the hill. Last year, peregrines screamed from the rock over the fallen scree under the craig. They will not come there when the trees have grown. Stow and Shalloch over the road is all ploughed. A man may do what he likes with his land. I turned back to the sheep. In the next field, they waited for grass to grow in the spring. Oh, I think it's to do with whose right it is to alter the land. You see, everything, all the poems that I've written about Auchenstone have got to do with my sense of being here and the sense of the past centuries. Maybe they don't come over like that, but I'm feeling very strongly, and always have, about the the sense of the past, our place here, and the pressing weight of the centuries that have gone before us. And that means that if any large alteration is made in the place, it's going to affect me very strongly. In the kind of way that when I look back from where we are now, I have no kind of factual sense of history at all, but only an emotional feeling that people have been here for many, many centuries, using the land in a similar kind of way.
Yeah.
Now, what has happened, of course, is that all that has gone by the board, and enormous machines, and therefore, metaphorically, if you like, enormous power structures have come and altered the shape and face of the land entirely. A way of seeing. See. That is enough for you to do. I only try to say what it seems might be said by the dead out of dreams, in the space beyond their time and place. Away somewhere behind light years, another mind thinks through my thoughts. Until you know, out round the back of yesterday, where reasons grow like golden stones, and words lie down white heaps of bones, as well as you know fingernails or the angle of your elbow, you don't know now. Look through this poem at the sharp moon, which beyond black fingers of the ash tree cuts familiars of sight. Such keen sudden jags threaten the thin glide and dignity of our dragonfly birth and daily light. But I am not sure now that what I saw was the moon, the knife slide, all yellow behind round wrinkled knuckles. It might have been TV pictures just, which gave an appearance of great distance from far beyond a screen. Indeed, all poetry is déjà vu, kind of hallucinatory, and somehow hopeless when attempting distinctions between vision and myth. For now, when the moon has become a white grenade which crashes towards the earth and explodes the gauze clouds, it is hard to feel where my own world starts and ends. The sheep lie on the hill, their memories, golden stones turned white in the night frost, at a time which is not dusk nor dawn, but is lost between here and elsewhere in a pitching moment. And the tremor you know when you touch them, the thrill of resistance and fear when they throng in your bocht, invest them even at rest. But to describe this is like stitching frozen mist. So I only recall the curve of their fat backs as they edge away from my casual attention, and recollect patterns they make, slipping from me out of the pen, and then over the cold grey hill to that place that is me immemorially.